We're back today to do another fall baking video, and as promised, today's video is going to be everything pumpkin. All of our dessert recipes that we're making today will include pumpkin. If you missed the first video in this baking series where we did all of our desserts non-pumpkin, I'll make sure to link that down below so you guys can go back and watch it if you'd like and see all of the yummy things that we made. So today we're going to, as I said, focus on pumpkin. I love pumpkin desserts, pumpkin pie, pumpkin cheesecake, pumpkin bread, pumpkin bars, oh, yum, all that stuff. So I'm going to clean this up off my counter and we're gonna get to it. Welcome everyone. My name is Mickey if you are new around here, and my channel is Harvest Moon Farm, where we focus on all things homesteading. So we do a lot of cooking, baking, we do some gardening, lots of food preservation, we do a little bit of animal care. We've got chickens and ducks and Nigerian dwarf goats, and occasionally we have some grandchildren hanging around, popping their heads up in the video. So today we are going to make some more fall desserts, all focused around pumpkin. So we've got a sourdough pumpkin spice bread, pumpkin cheesecake truffles, pumpkin magic bars, these look amazing, and old-fashioned pumpkin donuts. So hopefully we'll get to all of these. We are going to start today with our sourdough pumpkin spice bread. We're going to start by mixing all of our dry ingredients together. And we want 1 3/4 cup of flour. The recipe calls for whole wheat pastry flour. I don't have pastry flour. I'm just going to use regular all-purpose flour. Alrighty. Actually, let's get our oven preheating to 350. We need 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt, which I'm using Redmond's real salt. Oops. 1/2 teaspoon. And then 1 tablespoon of pumpkin spice. Now, you can mix your own. I have my own mixture here, or you can use a store-bought pumpkin spice, or you can mix together cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and cloves. So I will link all these recipes down below so you can have the full spice mixture. But I am going to, like I said, use my pre-made one. And we made this together, I think, last fall. So we need a tablespoon of that. Oh, that smells like fall. I love that smell. And we just want to stir these together really, really well. We just want to make sure that all of these ingredients are really well, mixed. Move our flour out of the way. And then we're going to put together our wet ingredients. So for this, we need a 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree, or it's approximately not quite 2 cups. I have, which I probably need to thaw this, I have some pumpkin puree that I made myself. We made that together. So I'm going to go ahead and put that, and I have these bags marked as 2 cups. They're roughly 2 cups, and I'm just going to call that good. Okay, I am going to go ahead and put this in the microwave just for a few seconds so that I can just get rid of these chunks. It won't take very long, so maybe 20-30 seconds. Okay, that actually took about a minute and it's still not quite all thawed, but it's thawed enough, I think, that I can break it up with my whisk. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so to our pumpkin, we want a half a cup of real maple syrup. And the recipe says you can use all maple syrup or you can use all honey. We're going to add some honey as well. But she says we really love the balance and flavor when using some of each. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually almost out of this, so I hope I have enough. I mean, I will have enough for this recipe. I hope I don't need it for another recipe. And I'm going to do a quick spritz inside my measuring cup just so this and the honey will come out easier. A half a cup of the maple syrup and a quarter cup of honey, or you can do 3/4 total of either one. Okay, and I don't have half a cup, so I'm gonna do 3/4 total. Darn, I wish I'd realized I was running so low. I would just went to the store. I would have bought some more. Okay. Oh, so let's add our honey to this for a total of 3/4 of a cup. I do have more honey, so that is not an issue. Might take forever to drop down into our measuring cup, but I do have enough honey. So we've got our mixture of syrup and honey. And now we need, okay, can't see this. All right, 1/3 cup of either coconut oil or butter melted. The author says that the difference is subtle, but her family prefers the flavor and texture made with coconut oil. I am going to use butter though, so I'm going to get that and get it melted. 1/3 of a cup of melted butter. And I'm going to go ahead and stir this together now, just to kind of get that butter mixed in and cooled down, because we don't want to add our sourdough starter or our egg to hot melted butter. Now we want to add half a cup of sourdough starter. This can either be active or discard, it doesn't matter. I have some I fed this morning. It's not quite active, but it is getting there. So half a cup. I love it when I have a recipe that I can use some of my sourdough, either the discard or just when I have a lot of active starter like I do now. I love when I have a recipe that I can use that in. Get all of this. There we go. 1 egg, or you could use egg substitute. To this, we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Might need to refill my vanilla container. And we're just going to whisk all of this together until it's smooth. So we're going to slowly add this in to our wet mixture and stir it in as we go. We just want to make sure that it really gets incorporated, all the dry ingredients, into the wet. Oh, try and keep it in your bowl though. Or if you really want to be like me, you could fling it all over your counter, because that seems to be where my skills lie. Alright, we'll do the last approximately 1/3 of our dry ingredients. So all of this is really mixed. this is where it helps to reread your recipes before you start. I forgot that this needs to ferment on the counter. So you can leave it 8 to 12 hours. So if you are going to do it, if you do want to let it ferment 8 to 12 hours, make sure that before the 4-hour mark is up, go ahead and stick it in the fridge because it has egg in it. I am going to let it ferment at least 2 hours while I go through all these other recipes, and then we will go ahead and bake it. So I'm going to get some plastic wrap and get this covered, and then we will move on to our next recipe. You could also cover this with a beeswax wrap or a damp towel. Whatever you prefer, whatever you have on hand. All right, if I can get this. Okay, so I'm gonna take this and I'm actually gonna set it on my stovetop and let it ferment while we work on these other cookies. We're gonna start the pumpkin donuts next because they have to sit for about 45 minutes before you fry them. So that way we can get this going and then work on something else while it's sitting. So again, we're gonna go ahead and mix our dry ingredients together first. We want 3 cups of flour. This calls for cake flour. Again, all I have is all-purpose, so that's what I'm going to use. So 1. There's our 3 cups. So to our flour, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. A teaspoon of salt. 2 teaspoons of our pumpkin pie spice. This also calls for an additional 3/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. If you don't really like nutmeg, you can just leave that out. I do like nutmeg, so I'm gonna go ahead and add it in. So about 3/4 of a teaspoon. And go ahead and stir this all together just like we did with our bread recipe. There we go. In our stand mixer, we're going to use 1/2 cup of sugar and 2 tablespoons of butter. Just want to mix this a little bit on low until this butter sugar mixture is kind of sandy looking. Next we want to add 2 egg yolks. And we're going to beat that until they're mixed in, and then we're going to turn this up to medium, and we're going to let it go about a minute or so until the mixture is light and thick. Next we want to alternate adding our flour mixture and 2/3 cup of either sour cream or plain yogurt. I have sour cream. So I'm going to start with the flour mixture. I'm going to dump about 1/3 of it in here. First half of our sour cream mixture, or sour cream. Second third of our flour mixture. The other 1/3 of our sour cream. Get all that in there. And finally, the last of our dry mixture. Oh, I spilled half of it on the counter. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's take this. Oh, we're going to take this out. We're going to transfer this to a clean bowl. I'm just going to use the one that we've been mixing our dry ingredients in. Going to cover it with plastic wrap, and then we're going to stick it in the fridge for about 45 minutes. We can leave it up to 2 hours if we need to. I think that's what it said. Oh, you could leave it up to 24 hours, so you could put it together one day and fry them like the next morning if you wanted. So let's put some plastic wrap on this. And into the fridge with this. Next, we're going to move on to our pumpkin magic bars. I'm so excited for this recipe. It looks so good. So we're going to use an 11 by 7 pan. We're going to spray it with cooking spray and set it aside. You could line it with foil if you wanted. I'm just going to I don't have any problem with this pan, so I'm just going to go ahead and spray the pan itself. The first thing that we make with this recipe is the crust, and it needs 1/2 cup of butter. Only, of course, I forgot to take the butter out, and so I don't have enough room temperature butter. Let me think here. I'm going to put this in the microwave just for a few seconds to soften it up a little bit, and then we'll let the mixer do the rest of the work. And since I had to do that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this in a few pieces so that it's, rather than dump it in whole. If I could get a hold of it, there we go. So that should help it mix in a little better. To our butter, we are going to add 1/3 cup of light brown sugar. I did not make any more brown sugar after we did our last baking, so I am just going to pour a little molasses in this. Won't need much since there's just that small amount of sugar and we just want light brown. So I'm just going to pour about that much. And we're just going to cream this together. We're just going to let it run about 2 minutes or so until it's nice and incorporated. Wrong way. Okay, I realized that some of my recipe didn't print, and I had to go find the rest of it. So now to that, we're going to add 1 cup of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and a pinch of sea salt. And then we're going to mix that up until all of the dry ingredients are incorporated. There we go. What we want to do now with our mixture that we have in our mixing bowl, we're going to put it in our prepared pan, whether you added foil or you just sprayed it like I did. We're going to add that in there. I'm going to wet my fingers, and we are going to just spread this into the bottom of our pan. Whoops. Just want to make sure that it's all covered. We look like this. We're going to put it in our 350-degree oven, and we're going to bake it for about 15 minutes. We want it to be a nice light brown. We just want to be able to tell that it's not raw, like in the middle. So I'm going to stick that in the oven and set my timer. I did leave out one recipe. Apparently it didn't print when I printed everything yesterday. So I'm also going to make some pumpkin bars with cream cheese frosting. That was one of the main things I wanted to make today. So we're gonna get started with that while that crust is baking. We want to mix together butter and sugar. So we need 1.5 cups of sugar. And 1 cup of butter softened, which of course this is not softened, so I'm gonna stick it in the microwave. And I apologize if you can hear that saw running periodically in the background. My husband is working on our chicken coop. All right, so there's our cup of butter. And we're just gonna cream this together until it's light and fluffy. To this butter sugar mixture then, we're going to add 4 eggs, and these are our own eggs. I'm going to crack them one at a time just to be safe. There are our 4 eggs. And we just want to mix this now really well. Mix our eggs in. Now we're going to add our dry ingredients, and I am not going to mix them separately for this recipe. So we need 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm actually going to add a little bit of this pumpkin pie spice mix in there. I know it has cinnamon in it, but I want mine to have more of that pumpkin pie spice. What did I say? 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we're just going to blend this. We're going to mix this all together. Oh, except I'm going to slow down because I'm spraying it everywhere. And then 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin or your pumpkin puree. So I've got my bag here. It's 2 cups, which is a little bit over, but by the time I squeeze out the bag and all of that, it'll be pretty close to a can because of what, you know, gets stuck inside the little baggie. And I think this is going to work out timing wise just about perfect because our crust for our magic bars is just about done. I did not get enough pumpkin puree there. I need to go grab 1 more bag here in a little bit. All right, so we're going to mix the pumpkin puree, can't say that today, in. I'm going to give that 2 more minutes. It's still got a spot in the middle that's a little bit raw looking, soft, I guess. And then for our pumpkin bars, we are going to put a piece of parchment in our pan. So you can use a 1/2 sheet cookie sheet, which is the 12 by 17, or you can use a jelly roll pan, which is going to give you just a little bit of a thicker bar, and that's what I'm going to use. I am going to go ahead and cut my paper to fit though, so I don't have to fight it. I'm going to give this a little spray. Make sure you spray the sides of your pan so the bars don't stick. And, oh, I sprayed my recipe. Oh, these smell really good. And there's our bars. or our, I guess I should say the crust for our bars, our magic bars. Okay. So here is what that looks like coming out of the oven. And I just set it on top of my stove to cool a little bit while we pour this, while we get this pumpkin bar batter in our pan. And the good thing today about doing all of these pumpkin recipes with regards to my mixer and my bowls is that everything pretty much uses the same ingredients, or most of the same ingredients, so I don't have to keep washing this out in between recipes because everything is the same. Now my paper's going to try and slide around on me while I do this. This is a fairly thick batter. You know, it's not like a cake batter. It's more like a, you know, like a bread, you know, like a quick bread, which essentially that's what this is a quick bread recipe that you just are going to make into a bar form. I'm just going to try and spread this out as evenly as possible. Okay, now we're gonna bake this for, what does it say? 20 to 25 minutes in a 350-degree oven until, actually, you know what? The jelly roll said 35 minutes. So we're gonna bake this for 35 minutes until a toothpick inserted in the middle comes out clean, so we know that it's done. The next thing now we're going to do to our magic bars is we've got a cup of just plain pumpkin puree, and we are going to spread it out over the top of our bars, our crust. We're going to take our butterscotch chips. So this is an 11-ounce bag, just a regular bag that you buy at Walmart or the grocery store. And we're going to sprinkle those over the top of our pumpkin. Like that. The next thing to go on is some toffee bits. And for the toffee bits, we just want 1 cup. Which is a little more than half the bag, I think. So I'm just going to sprinkle these over the top of our butterscotch chips. Like this. Ooh, this smells so good. Next we have pecans. We want 2 cups of chopped pecans, and I just bought the pre-chopped ones. I usually just always buy the halves and then do whatever I need with them, but these I specifically bought. What did it say? 2 cups. There's one. I just want to make sure those are all spread out on the top. Then lastly, we are going to add a regular 14-ounce can of condensed milk. These are definitely going to be rich. Okay, look, look at all of this gooey. So this is going back in the oven for another 30 to 35 minutes or until it's browned on top. We're basically melting everything and cooking our pumpkin. And then we want to wait until they are completely cool before we cut them. And if you have any left, they should be stored in the refrigerator. I'm going to stick this back in the oven with the pumpkin bars, and I'll just set a separate timer for this. And while that stuff is baking, I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of this so that I have room to finish up these other recipes. So I discovered that I do not have any graham crackers. I thought I did and I didn't buy any. And the truffle recipe needs graham crackers, so I'll have to make that a different time. But while those other two bars are baking, I'm going to go ahead and make the glaze for our donuts because we're going to work on those next. In our mixing bowl, we're going to add 4.5 cups of powdered sugar, but I just washed all of this, so I want to make sure it's dry so the powdered sugar doesn't stick. There's one. And to our powdered sugar, we're going to add either 2 teaspoons of light corn syrup, or you can use golden syrup. I'm going to use golden syrup because I bought it. If you guys watched the recipe swap that I did with Stacy at Farmer's Wife Homestead, I made some Anzac biscuits and they needed this golden syrup. So perfect time to use them again, or use it again, I guess I should say. So 2 teaspoons of this. And if you guys haven't watched Stacy at her channel, she recently did a video where she made her own golden syrup. It was a great video, so I would recommend that you go check it out if you're interested in how to make this. 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. A teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. I should have done my dry ingredients first. That's okay. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. 1/4 cup of pumpkin puree, which I have the last of the puree here. I'm going to have a little bit left, which is frustrating, but that's okay. 1/4 cup of that. And now we want to go ahead and mix all of this together. And once it's all blended up, then we're going to add 1/4 cup of hot water. We want to add our water just slowly so that it has time to incorporate into our powdered sugar. I want to scrape the sides down so we make sure that all of that gets in and gets mixed. So we're just going to leave that to the side for now. We're going to go ahead and start rolling out and cutting our donuts. We want to roll this out to about 1/2 inch thick. And the dough does look pretty dry. So we should roll it into an approximately 8-inch wide circle. which I've got it there. And that gives you about a 1/2 inch of thickness. Someplace I have some biscuit cutters. I don't know where they are, so I'm going to use this. Hopefully this will work. Oh, there we go. These might be kind of big donuts, but that's all right. And then I'm going to use this to cut the hole in the middle for our donut holes. Okay, so I'm going to roll this out again. And I might make the rest of them just donut holes. We really prefer donut holes. Especially since these donut holes are actually fairly big. Whoops. So there's the oven going off for our pumpkin bars, so I'm going to go give them a test and see if they're done. So they are done, so I just left them sitting on top of my stove to kind of start cooling, because we can't do anything else with them now until they're cool, and then we will top them with a cream cheese frosting. Whoa. And then I'm just going to kind of squish this last piece together. So here are these pumpkin bars just out of the oven. They got a little brown. I'd forgotten I moved my racks when I roasted my pumpkins, so it was a little too high. So I've got a pot on the stove with about 1.5 to 2 inches of oil in it, and we're gonna let that heat to 325, and then we're gonna start frying our donuts. So our oil has reached 325, so I'm gonna put 3 of these donuts in here. But that's all that's going to fit. Oh, how delicious does that look? Oh, can't wait to try those. And then I've got a cooling rack over here with a layer of paper towel on it that we're going to set these on and let them drain a little bit and cool just a little bit until I can touch them. And then we're going to dip them in our glaze and let them set up. Oh, it's trying to fall apart on me. We're going to put our last regular donut in here. Did you guys ever used to make donuts or donut holes with canned biscuits? We used to do that all the time when my sister and I were little. Saturday mornings, my mom would make us donuts dipped in powdered sugar, and then we would eat them in my mom and dad's bedroom while we watched cartoons with my dad. It was so fun. In fact, when my kids were little, I used to make them biscuit donuts. And I've made them with my grandkids too, and they think they're fun. So go ahead and turn the heat off while these last few donuts holes finish frying. While these are still hot, we want to dip them in our glaze. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hope I can do this without breaking them. They kind of want to break. You want out, buddy? Hold on. I'm going to add just a hair more water. Not a hair. I'm just going to add a touch more water. I didn't add hair because this glaze got kind of thick, and I'm going to see if this helps. Oh yeah, I think that. I still might just pour some glaze over these. So this was a lot of glaze. I don't know if I made these too big, but I'm going to go ahead and add a little more glaze to the tops of these, the donut shape, since I was struggling with those. Honestly, I could probably make another batch and not have to make any more glaze, because there's still quite a lot in here, even with me doing this. Okay, so this piece tore off of one of them, so I'm going to dip it in the glaze, and we're going to give it a little taste test. Okay, it's not hot anymore. Oh, wow. These are delicious. Yummy. So what I'm going to do is take this leftover glaze and put it in a bowl in the refrigerator, and then I can make some more of these maybe next weekend, and then I'll already have the glaze. I'll just need to bring it up to room temperature and make sure that it's dippable or pourable or something. See, look how much is left. That filled up that whole bowl. And I do have, oh, I'm dripping it. I do have just a little bit left in here I can kind of scrape out. Yummy. All right, this is going in the fridge. We're going to let those sit until the glaze has set. Now we are going to go ahead and finish our sourdough pumpkin spice bread. So I need to turn the oven back on. I forgot and turned it off, so I'm going to get it preheating again to 350. So you can use a 9x5 or an 8.5 by 4.5, which I think that's what this is. We're going to spray the inside of the pan. And I'm going to do a little bit of flour in there. It doesn't say that, but that's how I typically do my breads. So then we're just going to scoop this into our pan and smooth out the top. Whoa, almost dropped my bowl. It's very heavy. I can smell that sourdough in there. It smells really good. The author said she likes to top it with a little brown sugar. I don't have any brown sugar made, but I'm just going to top it with a little plain white sugar. Because this is a cane sugar, so it's a little bit of a thicker, like a heavier, what am I trying to say? Like a bigger granule? I don't know what the word is. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. And then when the oven is preheated, this is going in for 55 to 60 minutes. And then we want it, oh, there it is. And then we want it to come out, you know, with a knife or toothpick inserted in the center to be clean. So the oven just beeped, so I'm gonna get this in and get it started. The last thing that we are going to put together is the cream cheese frosting for our pumpkin bars. We'll get that ready while our bread's baking. So we need 8 ounces of cream cheese that's been softened. So that's 1 whole brick. There we go. 2 our cream cheese. We're going to add a 1/4 cup of butter and a teaspoon of vanilla. I need to fill up my vanilla container. I added a 1/4 cup of butter to the stand mixer, and now we are just going to let it go. We're going to let this go until it's nice and fluffy, and then we'll start adding our powdered sugar. So we need 5 cups of powdered sugar, and we're just going to add it in a cup at a time and go ahead and let it start mixing so that we don't throw powdered sugar everywhere, and plus that helps make sure that it's nice and smooth. Okay, I hope this is 4. I lost track. Oh, I think that was 5. I'm just going to scrape the sides down a little bit. Scrape some off the beater and then let it run for a few minutes and make sure that it's all really nice and creamy. So our cream cheese frosting is really nice and creamy. So I am going to plop it on there in some kind of big blobs and spread it very carefully so that I don't tear up the top of my bars. My gosh, these look so pretty. Alright, got some autumn sprinkles here, so I'm going to use this, let's see, what am I going to use? I'm going to use this orange, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on the top, maybe, if they'll come out. Let's see. Try it again. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit over the top. And then I might add some of the yellow too. Let's see. Are they coming out? Yeah. There. Now they look super pretty. Our bread has about 35 or so minutes. So I'm going to finish cleaning everything up while that finishes baking. And once it's done, we will be done for the day. We made a lot of delicious things. Okay, so our timer is going off on our bread, so we're going to check it. Ooh, it looks amazing. It feels like it's done. Let's give it a little. Yep, it is done. There we go. I'm going to set that right there, and we're going to let it cool for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and take it out of the pan, and I'll put it on a cooling rack to finish cooling completely. This has been sitting now about 10 minutes or so. I'm just going to run the knife along the edge and just make sure it's clean. I've got my other cooling rack here, and just going to dump this like that and dump it over onto the rack. So, oh my gosh, that smells so good. So we are going to let this sit now. We're going to let this finish cooling then on the rack before we cut into it. We want to make sure that it's completely cooled so that it doesn't end up all gummy. Well, that's going to do it for today's video. Our All About Pumpkin Day. So we've got our glazed donuts, our magic bars, which I can't wait to cut into, our pumpkin bars, and our sourdough pumpkin bread. So I think we made a lot of great things today. They all smell delicious. The donut that I tried was delicious. I'm sure everything is really good. So I want to say thank you for hanging out with me again today. I really, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Also, don't forget to sign up for my newsletter if you're not already signed up. It will be at the very top of the description box. I will link all of these recipes in that description box as well so that you can give them a try if you'd like. So my husband and I are probably going to taste test some of these items later tonight. And I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.